Hi friends, this is Brenda at the Pop-Up Homestead, and I'm going to be doing a series of classes on cooking, basic cooking classes on how to cook with prepping supplies. So the first three I have lined up. Today we're going to talk about rice. Tomorrow we're going to talk about oatmeal, and the third one we're going to talk about dry beans. So let's start with rice. So first and foremost, there's multiple different kinds of rice. So most people are familiar with this, which is white bleached rice. This is non-GMO rice, which is important if you're going to get rice that it's non-GMO. So rice has instructions on it, and it looks fairly simple. But then, if you grab the wrong kind of rice, there's long grain rice, short grain rice, and brown rice. So this here, this is brown rice. And if you look here, see the difference? The white rice and the brown rice? The brown rice still has its bran shell on it. So with brown rice, it doesn't last as long because it can go rancid, it can spoil. But the reason I like brown rice better is because it has a higher nutritional value. So white rice doesn't have a very high nutritional value. So when we're cooking, we have to think, why are we cooking? Are we cooking just so we don't starve to death, or are we cooking to feed our family so that we have nutritious food in our diet? So I cook for nutrition. So I want it to taste good, of course. But if I'm going to cook food for my family, I want it to be nutritious. So first and foremost, it has to have nutrition, right? So just the basics. Cooking white rice, I'll even read it to you. 1 cup of rice, 1 3/4 cup of water. Boil the water, toss in the rice. I bring it to a full rolling boil, and I turn it off, leave the lid on it, and let it finish for the next 10 to 15 minutes while I cook the rest of my meal. So, in a nutshell, that's how you cook basic white rice. Now, there's a lot of variations to that, okay? And we're just going to talk about white rice because that's the easiest right now, because brown rice is a tad harder. So when you just cook white rice, this is what it looks like, okay? Very simple. If you're going to make rice, I recommend that you make 2 to 3 times more than you need, okay? Because rice freezes well, and you can make multiple meals out of rice. So you can actually keep a container of rice in your refrigerator already cooked for up to a week. So I like to do that. I tend to have cooked beans, cooked rice, different pre-made things in my fridge that I can throw into different recipes. So that makes it a lot easier when you're cooking. Now, a slight variation on this recipe, right? Rice and water. You don't have to use water. You have to use a liquid. So you could use chicken broth, you can use vegetable broth, you can use beef broth. So what I like to use is these Better Than Bouillon. They come in vegan and they come in not vegan, meaning that they have meat in them, which is fine. So you just take a tablespoon of this and you can mix this in the water, and then it'll be chicken flavored or beef flavored or garlic flavored. It goes a long way, adds a lot of flavor and a lot of nutrition to the meal. If you want a simple, easy meal, if you're not a great cook, but you want to cook the rice and you don't want it to be just plain and boring, pull out a bag of frozen vegetables, mixed vegetables, green beans, carrots, or I prefer mixed vegetables, and toss in a cup of mixed vegetables with the rice while it's boiling. And then if you want to add a little additional protein, you could open a can of something like roast beef, pulled pork, tuna, or even a can of chicken. These are all already cooked meats. So you could add those to the rice, and now you have a whole meal. Vegetables, rice, and meat all in one pot, quick and easy to make. That's one, right? You can also take some of the rice, you can add salsa, right? Add a little chili powder, and now you have a southwestern rice that you could put in a burrito shell, wrap up, and have it as a burrito, or just, have it in a bowl. You don't have to wrap it in a burrito. But it completely changes the flavor. Another thing you can do with white rice is open a can of soup. Warm up the soup, warm it up right with the rice, because when you have cold rice in your fridge, you're going to take a frying pan, pour the rice in there, add a little bit more water, and just warm it up on low till it's not cold. You could add a can of soup, a can of beef stew, a can of chicken noodle soup, whatever you like. Add that, and that's a very hearty meal. Another option would be beans. And when we cover dry beans, I'm going to show you how to make your own canned beans, okay? So you don't have to buy store-bought canned beans, because it's not nearly as cost-effective as canning your own dry beans. But there's no doubt that opening a jar of your own beans is going to be quicker, easier, and you know what's in it. So this is a good backup, but we're going to cover how easy it is to can, pressure can, dry beans, so that you have pre-cooked, ready to make beans. Something else you could do is you could take something like greens, either like these are turnip greens. I prefer to do dandelions, collards, kale, whatever you might have growing in your garden, and slice them up, wilt them down with a little oil until they wilt down with a little garlic, diced up garlic, diced up onion, and then add the rice to it. And then you have rice and greens. See, you're getting the nutrition. It's all about the nutrition from the salsa, which is raw vegetables, nutrition from the greens, nutrition, protein from the meats. And don't get me wrong, lots of people will eat rice just plain. You can also make something called Chinese rice. And basically that is has a few mixed vegetables in it, but the big thing with that is people crack 2 eggs into it, 2 raw eggs right into the rice, and then as they're warming that up in the frying pan or in the boiling water, right, because the rice is going to absorb all the water, so when you're cooking it the first time you can crack the eggs in, or as a warm-up, you're going to make a Chinese rice, and the eggs are going to provide the protein that are in the rice, okay? So this jar of rice that I showed you, this is just in our fridge. I made rice last night. I did a teriyaki stir fry. So sauteed some veggies, broccoli, peppers, onions, mushrooms, and made a sauce. And then we had it on a bed of rice. So there's extra rice. I could feed that to my dogs. I could put that in a recipe. I could take this rice, dice up some vegetables, take this chicken stock, add 4 or 5 cups of water, and make a vegetable rice soup. So the versatility of having cooked rice on hand and knowing how to effectively cook rice is huge. You can make soup, you can make Chinese rice, you can make something with salsa, you can make it spicy. It's all a matter of adding flavorings and then adding a protein and adding vegetables. Vegetables are going to be crucially important. Now, if you have been a prepper for long, you know that dehydrating vegetables is key because they're shelf stable. So you could take your dehydrated vegetables, and it's a whole nother talk, which I'll cover at a later time, but you can take a bag of frozen mixed vegetables and dehydrate them until they're dry and shelf stable and they fit in a mason jar. So you could take a scoop of dehydrated vegetables and you could boil them with the rice when you're cooking the rice. So, food for thought, that would go a long way if you wanted to put that in a baggie and put it in a bug-out bag. You put the spices, the dried veggies, a can of meat, and some dry rice, and all you need is a pot, and you get it all boiling and cooked up, and then add the protein at the end. Okay, so what I haven't talked about is the difference on how you cook brown rice. Brown rice takes longer, okay? So brown rice, we usually use the pressure cooker. You see the pressure cooker behind me? It's silver and black on the counter back there. Normally, I'll make a full pot of pressure cooked rice. And when I do the brown rice, I'll take a baggie like this and I'll freeze a baggie, or 2 or 3 or 4. This one happens to be dog food. So this one has chickpeas in the bottom, brown rice in the middle, and then sweet potatoes that we grew. in this bag. And see, this is a good way to prep up your food because we're supplementing our dog food, but we could eat this as well. It's chickpeas, sweet potatoes, and rice. This is good stuff. And it's not hard to pull out the pressure cooker, right? And make a big pot of rice, but it's nice to have nights where I can have this already made if I'm busy doing other things, that I can just add it to a recipe, whether it be salsa or a can of soup or dice up some fresh veggies, which is always my first choice. So if you have fresh produce in the fridge, you should always use that first. Second, go to frozen. Third, go to canned or dehydrated, because of the shelf stability of things. But the whole reason I wanted to do these talks about cooking is because a lot of people store foods and they prep foods, but if you don't cook the foods that you're storing, when it's time to cook them, when you're really hungry and you don't have the ability to get more, and you burn it or wreck it, or it's raw and it doesn't taste good, it's going to make your life a whole lot harder. So also, if you cook it now, you know how much you need to feel satisfied. You know how far this jar is going to go. We have a 50-pound bag of this and we just keep refilling this jar, right? This little thing of rice is going to be 10, 12 meals for us. So we mainly eat brown rice, but I wanted to show you the difference. So back to the brown rice. I know I get slightly distracted, but the brown rice takes longer, and the reason I cook it in the pressure cooker is because it makes sure that it's cooked all the way. The white rice cooks easily, the brown rice takes longer. So if you're going to cook it, I would do a 3-to-1, 1 cup of rice, 3 cups of water, boil it on the stove for 30-40 minutes until it tastes done. So that is how you cook it on the stove, covered on a low simmer, and just keep checking it and stirring it periodically. Of course, you can take any type of bouillon and add to it. You can replace the water with a jar of broth if you already have beef broth, chicken broth, vegetable stock. And let me know down in the comments if you want me to do a video on how to make your own chicken stock and can it, how to make your own beef stock and can it, how to make your own vegetable stock so that you're not buying that from the store. We're also going to talk about all the different things that can be done with the preps that we have. So what I've talked about so far have mainly been dinner and lunch ideas. But whether it be cooked brown rice or cooked white rice, I would say most people use white rice. This can be a breakfast food as well. So I know that seems strange to me because I'm a northerner and I wasn't raised that way. But you could take this rice and you can put a little milk and sugar in it, cinnamon or vanilla, any type of flavoring you want, and you can make like a creamy oatmeal type breakfast food with this. Personally, I would add some walnuts and raisins. Walnuts, raisins, and a little bit of cinnamon. Add that to the sugar, or if you don't have sugar, you could use maple syrup or honey. A little bit of milk, and you're going to make a sweet, filling breakfast food. So it's another way that you can use your rice. And then the final way I wanted to talk about was rice milk. So you take white rice, dry, uncooked, put it in your blender, 1 cup of dry rice to 4 cups of water. Let it sit in your blender and soak for 30 to 45 minutes. You can let it soak longer if you want. You don't have to. And then blend it and strain it through cheesecloth, and you will have rice milk. So rice milk works out really well. It's a little bit more, it's more like 1% milk. It's thinner. It's not as thick, right? Not thick like oat milk. Oat milk is a lot thicker. Cashew milk is thicker. Almond milk is thicker. This is a little bit more of a thinner milk, but it does the same job. When you're cooking and recipe calls for milk, you can always replace it with rice milk. So just remember, dry rice can be made into milk also. The other thing you can do with rice, besides breakfast food, besides making milk, besides dinner foods, is you can also make flour. Very true. So take this, put it into the Ninja or any type of blender you have, and don't add water. Pulverize it until it's a powder, and then will become rice flour. Rice flour, again, just like the milk, is lighter, so you're going to want to mix this with wheat flour. And the reason you're going to do this is because it's going to make your regular flour go farther, and it's going to add more to the meal. So there you go. Just from a simple box of flour, you now can make rice flour, rice milk, regular rice, that you can just eat rice with salt and pepper. I gave you at least 5 different dinner ideas for the rice. You can freeze baggies full of rice so that you have a quick meal to just warm up. Basically, that's how you make a TV dinner. You pre-cook the meal and freeze it. And then you also have it ready to eat in the fridge. It's going to last up to a week. So I'd love to hear your feedback. I'm sure there's a lot of people that have already done all of these things and have ideas I haven't even thought of with rice. I would love to hear your feedback in the comments below. And please help other people. If you have ideas on what they can do with rice that hasn't been talked about here, please add it to the comments. And if there's other videos you'd like me to do on different topics, I'd be more than happy to do them. Leave those in the comments below as well. So again, my name is Brenda from the Pop-Up Homestead. Checking out, this is video 1, how to use rice. Tomorrow is oatmeal. Take care, friends.